Science This Morning. I'm Julia Rosebush.
And I'm Natalie Debernardi.
Who owns your genes? A recent article in the LA Times describes a battle over an error found in a gene sequence which plays a role in AIDS. The patent was recently issued to Human Genome Sciences Incorporated, and scientists say that the mistakes found in the gene are detrimental enough to hinder its normal function within the human body. But what the article fails to mention, however, is what gene patenting entails and why it has produced such enormous attention in biological science today.
The rush to sequence human genes has been an ongoing process for years, but the recent announcement of the completion of the Human Genome Project this past June has added more fuel to the fire. Scientists and academicians alike are debating over what information is required to garner a patent and how a gene, once it is patented, can be accessed for further experimentation.
But what is gene patenting? What is the popular press not telling you about this issue, and how does it affect you? This week, a special edition of Science This Morning will take you behind the scenes of the gene patenting controversy, giving you an insider's look at the mechanism behind one of the most controversial issues in science today.
We will go behind the scenes in the laboratories, give you access to exclusive interviews and footage with scientists who regularly patent genes. We will then explore the controversy behind gene patenting with social scientists, and then find out from our viewers like you what they know and what implications they believe this will have on themselves and on the future generations.
So now let us begin our exploration in the laboratory where these genes are patented every day, all the while keeping in mind the question, who owns your genes? We are here at Michigan State University, the first land-grant institution in the United States and one of the nation's most intensive research universities. Scientific experiments are conducted in these halls every day as researchers collaborate to advance the field of molecular biology. The isolation and replication of genes has become a quick and easy procedure. But what are these genes that are being reproduced, and who has the right to them once they are sequenced?
You can't patent something for which you can't find a use. You can't patent a naturally occurring material. So you can't patent, let's say, your dog, or I mean, you can't just patent something or some bacterium that's in nature. But you can patent something that's man-made, or if you take a gene and isolate it, it doesn't naturally exist in the isolated state, you could patent the gene. A gene is a piece of DNA. DNA produces proteins, so proteins can be enzymes, so they can do useful work. Proteins are building blocks of tissue. People are always worried about them. They always say that things are being locked up by patents, and actually that's not true. There is a well-recognized, although it's somewhat always misunderstood, research exemption. Basically, the whole purpose of the patent laws is to require you to disclose your invention, and the whole purpose of that is so that others can, number one, confirm it, which makes it scientifically desirable, but also so that people can invent around it. It's perfectly legitimate once you see someone's patent to use that as a starting point and try to find things that are outside the patent that are just as good or better. And also it's perfectly legitimate to try it out in a laboratory setting. So most of the things that would be done in a research setting in a university or even in a company that involves someone else's patent would be okay. When they start selling a product or something in a little bottle or whatever, and saying we've got a product now that does the same thing and it's the same product, then they're infringing the patent, and of course they're subject to all sorts of legal penalties.
Hello and welcome to Science This Morning. I'm Julia Rosebush.
And I'm Natalie Debernardi.
We continue our week-long exploration of the gene patenting controversy by questioning those individuals who are key to this process, the patent holders themselves. What have they patented? And more importantly, why have they patented it? What steps did they have to take in order to receive the patent?
Let us approach the experts, gain knowledge about the scientific basis of gene patenting, and begin to put together the pieces of the controversial puzzle as we attempt to answer the question, who owns your genes?
They should probably be interested in, or should be educated about, applications of modern molecular biology rather than the patenting process itself.
Wow. What do you think are the main ethical issues and controversies in gene patenting?
I think the main issue has to do with being able to patent something which is, abundant within nature, and what rights do people have. At least the reason I patented it was so that the university, the rights of the university were protected. Today, at pharmaceutical companies, there are patentable discoveries that would have major influence on public health. A lot of this is being done in pharmaceutical research laboratories where it never reaches the public domain. So what I do, I can't wait to get published. I can't wait to go to a scientific meeting to present it, to have the feedback and criticism of colleagues.
Hello and welcome to Science This Morning. I'm Natalie Debernardi.
And I'm Julia Rosebush.
Today we will continue our week-long series on gene patenting.
It is apparent from what we've learned through the scientists behind the gene patenting process that public representation of this controversy is often misleading and excludes the majority of the scientific background which comprises it. The process to get a patent on the gene was neglected to be mentioned in the Los Angeles Times article mentioned in yesterday's program, as were the effects that gene patenting could have on the treatment of various genetically based medical disorders such as AIDS.
We continue with the social scientists who are battling for the humanitarian aspect of this controversy and who state the gene patenting will have a direct effect on the way humans will live their lives. Join us as we interview humanitarians and social scientists as we further explore the question, who owns your genes?
What is a gene? What does a gene do? Is it just a sequence of information, or is there something more to it? Another ethical issue is the idea that we might have at a gut level that DNA somehow, our DNA, human DNA at least, is somehow sacred, that somehow we shouldn't be able to own it or have property rights to it. And finally, I think that it brings up the idea of reductionism in biology, how the modern trend in biology to reduce things, reduce organisms to a level of their genes might be a narrow view of things.
At the moment, what's driving a lot of the experiments and the what I would designate as carelessness in the experimentation is the profit that can be reaped. The use of genes in whatever it is, the application of the use of genes, for either health, which means for testing, because there is no other use for genes at this point in health, or in agriculture, is the enormous profit that can be reaped from it. And the reason there's profit that can be reaped from it is that there are gene patents, and that people have to pay in order to use the technology.
Okay.
If the technology were in the public domain, then it would be far less profitable, of course.